right, here we are again. So this is another top 10 video. In this case, what we do is we have a writer, storyteller, and a video game guru, I'd like to say. And we kind of talk about how stories and games connect, sometimes clash. Last video was a nice long one, our first top 10, and we talked about our favorite video games and why. This one is a little bit interesting. We figured our second top 10 would talk about the Xbox and its shocking downfall. I can tell you, Frank, I've always been sort of an Xbox guy. I always had the Xbox. I've had the original, I had the 360, I had the Xbox One.
Yeah.
And when the new competition came around, the new Xbox versus the PlayStation 5, I looked at the two of them and I said, there's no reason why I shouldn't get the PlayStation 5. And that's when I became a PlayStation guy. And that should be a very alarming piece of information, an alarming piece of data. So I know you and I were sort of talking about this behind the scenes. It's hard not to. And the gaming field, I guess you could say, is going through a huge, rampant change on all fronts. Nintendo announced first how they're going to start raising prices big time. PlayStation has announced, sorry, no more owning games. I mean, it's been really nasty for
Yeah.
gamers right now. We have access to, it's never been easier to play a video game, but it's never been harder to own one. And that's the
Right.
crazy thing. But
Yeah.
nothing compares to the incredible downfall of Xbox. It's been something to see. So I thought maybe we'd go through 10 real big reasons that you came up with for why the Xbox is failing. Are you ready for these?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm
Uh,
ready.
why don't we start with number 10? And
Yep.
I think it's the obvious one. There's just no competition. And Xbox is claiming that PlayStation is just the inferior console, and that just doesn't track. Well, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, no, because I mean, first and foremost, Xbox doesn't have games. They don't. I mean, yeah, Game Pass, but those are older titles. The fact of the matter is, I mean, they only have Forza, Halo, Gears of War. Those are their top three. They don't put out games as they used to back in the 360 days. And then now look what's happening. They're putting the games on PlayStation. For them to say that PlayStation's not competition, yeah, their competition because PlayStation every year for the past 15 years has been wiping them clean, like a clean slate. They just been destroying Xbox and sales, hardware sales definitely. And there's a reason why Microsoft doesn't show hardware numbers and sales. No one's buying them.
And to that point, no one's buying them. That leads into number nine, which you sort of already touched upon. Game Pass. Well, when Game Pass was introduced, I was very confused, to tell you the truth. My friends were trying to get me to into Game Pass because it's very accessible. But from my perspective, even though I don't play that much, I play a game or two and I sort of commit to it. So I'm looking at Game Pass and I'm thinking, how does the company benefit from this? And now they raise the prices. So the only thing that people were really on for the Xbox was Game Pass, and now that isn't even attractive. Can
Right.
you help me understand what the heck happened with Game Pass here?
They shoved it down everyone's throat, saying this is going to be all end all. This is like the new biggest thing. When you put out titles that came out 20 years ago, you're going to put out the original Halo and games day one. I That's a great idea, but you need bangers. You need people want to play those games, not old titles from like the original Xbox and 360. You already played those games multiple times when you're not putting out bangers and you're saying, hey, this game's coming out on a specific date. Yeah, we see what PlayStation's doing. They're having like Last of Us, they're having like Uncharted over here. Yeah, we got games like Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow that came out on the original Xbox in like what 2002 or something. Um, it's not sustainable. There are developers out there that are complaining about it because they're not getting a fair cut. You know, the fact of the matter is they're just not putting out games that people want to play as like big hitters. Like where is like I like Crackdown. I don't know if you ever played that game, but I kind of like that. But there was a game on Xbox 360 that came out. It's called Crackdown. It's pretty much just
Oh,
like Grand
yes, I
Theft
remember
Auto
that
with
game a while
yeah,
ago. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's I like that game. It's cheesy, but it's fun. But like they got to go back and bring back those titles that made Xbox to what it is today. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? And
Frank,
they're just not doing
to
it.
your yeah, to your point again, number 8 on our list is studio closures for many reasons, I think. But to your point, look at some of the games that they stood behind and said, this is what we're going to compete. South of Midnight, garbage, trash. They came up with Avowed, confident, saying, this is the new thing. You're going to play this until you're like totally blue in the face. That fell on its face. They promised they were going to make a reboot of Perfect Dark. That was canned for reasons they couldn't explain. And then they now the most recent news, it's just piling it on top of all the layoffs, easily over 3,000. Some, I'm sure they were able to skim off the top of people who just they didn't need, but they also let go of true veterans who essentially built a lot of these games. I mean, the
Yeah.
studio closures, is that a good thing for Xbox, or is this like a total panic job? What do you think about that?
They're just bleeding money. They're not making money on hardware sales. They're not making money. Their trajectory for the Game Pass, let's say, was supposed to be 77 million. Right now, I'm thinking between 20 and 25 million of Game Pass subscribers. They're not hitting the numbers. They're not hitting it on a yearly basis, and that's a problem. So in turn, they gotta cut people here, cut people there, and it's not good. You're getting a lot of developers who are going, I've been with this company for over 25 years and you're going to let me go. They just don't care. They do not care. All they care about is you subscribing to Game Pass and you sticking with the system. But at the end of the day, they don't even care about their own brand. You're going to change letters to put big X, big B, big O, and big X. Well, what else are you doing? You're not putting out games. Games sell systems. That's the bottom line, and they're just not doing it, and that's why they're cutting all these different developers and everything because they feel like, well, this game's taken way too long for it to develop. Well, you guys are a multi-billion-dollar company, and you guys could do so, but they're trying to find money in every avenue they possibly can because they're just bleeding money right and left.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're already on to number 7, and you sort of already touched upon it. Um, it's almost like they have no ideas that are original,
Right.
and they're not willing to do the crunch. I hate the crunch. For a developer, it's the worst part of being a developer, the crunch. But I hate to say it, that's what makes masterpieces. And to be honest, nothing is more of a crunch than when you're about to release a console and you have an IP that is going to say, hey, buy the Xbox because this game is out. The big problem is there's no IPs that are big bangers. And
Right.
you said this. We haven't had, I mean, look, you said this. Xbox gets Bethesda, yet no Elder Scrolls 6 game in sight. Not even close in sight, and they announced it years ago.
Right.
How could you not release? Can you imagine the amount of fan base that would have purchased the new Xbox console had they released it with, let's say, an Elder Scrolls 6, which they promised, and maybe a new Halo game, the game
Yeah.
that changed the industry. It
Right.
made Xbox what it was. What did they miss here? Well, why didn't they do that? Do you know?
So I heard, take this with a grain of salt because you know how things are, like rumors and everything. But I did hear that Elder Scrolls 6 will be coming out in 2 years. Um, but I don't even think that their next system is going to be coming out. Helix, I don't. If you look at what today's news has brought out, I don't want to get too much into it, but what I can tell you is that hardware numbers, they're just not there. So I don't see them seeing making a point for them to make the next system. But getting back to the game, um, they're just cutting corners. They what they'll do is, and if you notice with a lot of games today, they'll put out a game and they'll sell for $70, but it's half a game. You want the rest of the game? DLC. Spend another
Yep,
30, $40.
exactly.
So with these type of games and Elder Scrolls, I have no problem doing so because it's a massive game. But I think there's a lot of issues going on in the back that I'm not too keen on. But I have a strong feeling that they fired a lot of those developers without saying so, and they're just their focus is just not there or where it should be. And if it does come out in 2 years, I'd be shocked. I'm just not seeing it. But I think it's a lot of layoffs is what's happening, and that's what's basically making these games take forever.
Yeah, I mean, also they were saying, okay, we're gonna come out with StarCraft first. That failed. So
Oh,
now
Starfield?
Starfield, I'm sorry, StarCraft is another game.
Right,
Starfield
right.
came out, that fails. All right, it had a big start, but it was not a complete game, like you said. And then they
Yeah.
come out with a DLC, and people said this is not worth anything. This is garbage. Um, so yeah, I want to move on to something else that might have a big impact, and this is something I've really sort of been concerned about. What is your knowledge of their pushing of AI? What's happening with that in Microsoft?
So the main reason why they got I'm trying to remember her name, Sharma, Asha Sharma, I think she's
Yes,
the
I heard that.
new
Yeah,
uh she was dealing with a lot of AI in her previous role for wherever she came from, not too
that's
sure,
right.
but it's one of her ideas that she wants to implement in games. Now they ran it back and say, no, we're not going to do it, but it helps make games. But you got to be honest with people. Like that Copilot, they run that everyone's down everyone's throat on the Xbox. They have that in the background.
That's
Eh,
terrible. That just
People don't want
wastes
that.
space. Oh, no one wants that.
No one wants that. Um, I have a strong feeling that that's what Helix was meant to be. I think that was going to be
Uh,
a lot of games with. I'm only giving my assumption. I don't think it's going to
sure.
be exactly what it's meant to be, but my strong feeling on it is I think that's what the next Xbox was heading. But due to the lack of people buying Xbox Series S and X's, I don't think there's going to be Helix. So I wouldn't worry about AI at this moment in time unless they turn around.
Well,
But
you had also mentioned earlier, and I really wanted to ask you about this. You had mentioned they were pushing controllers over
yeah,
games. Is that true? Well,
yeah, I mean, look how many different kinds of color controls that they come out with, and where's the games? You're putting too much money into into the hardware. Like, the perfect example, I got a controller right here, blue. I mean, it's like they make pink controllers, yellow controllers, you know, hard drives, new systems that have like the green system that's coming out in November, which is Xbox Series X to celebrate, I think, 25 years of Xbox or something. How about you celebrate Xbox with games? How about that? They're focused on way too many peripherals. That was the word I was looking for. Too many peripherals. I mean, how many controls can you possibly make? Or, it's ridiculous. Focus on games, less peripherals. We already got controllers. We want games. You buy a system to play games, not to buy controllers. Yeah, I got this because my favorite color is blue. That's, you know what I mean? It's like, but the fact of the matter is, I'm still waiting for those bangers to come out. Where's my Elder Scroll 6? You know what I mean?
no, you
That's
know
probably
what?
the best example.
No, yeah, and to your point again. I when I had the Switch, the first one, I saw a controller that was the GameCube controller, and I said, I gotta buy that. Why did I buy that? I bought that to play the games on the Switch. I didn't buy it because
Right,
it's a controller. I said this is gonna be a nice feel for me because I enjoyed that controller if I have games to play. That's
right.
what it comes down to. Um,
Yep.
you had mentioned something about them spreading false information and the company not really remedying or amending that? Well, what's going on with that?
So, and we can pretty much with Phil Spencer when he was head of Xbox,
Mm.
he mentioned that there's only going to be four games coming to the competition, and don't see that it's going to be all games coming to the PlayStation, but you're seeing 95% of games coming to PlayStation.
Wow.
It's you if you want to compete, and that's what they wanted to do, you got to put out games. Competition is putting out games, not putting your games on other platforms. If you want to have exclusive games, that's what PlayStation is doing. Yeah, there was a grain, a few games here and there that sprinkled on a PC. They were testing it out. Sales numbers were not there. So they went, hey, you know what? We're not doing that anymore. We're going to keep our games on PlayStation going forward. Smart move. Um, the thing is, and I hate to say this, but the fact of the matter is, Xbox gamers do not spend money on games because of Game Pass, because of it was jumped down everyone's throat saying this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And what did they do? They raised prices, right?
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
they ran it back saying, uh-oh, we'll lower the price on Game Pass. It's still not working for them because there's no games to play on that platform. There's just not. And I'm sorry, there's not. And if you looked at my Xbox games, I don't need Game Pass. I buy my games. Um, and that's how you support developers by buying, not renting, because it's only going through one source, and that's Xbox. They already paid the developers to it's like a contractual thing where they'll pay developers, put the games on Game Pass, but at the end of the day, developers want that money. They want to be able to get that higher percentage than renting. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because
Yeah.
games compete with other games. Spider-Man will go up against Halo, vice versa. Forza will go against Gran Turismo. You know what I'm saying? So that needs to be that competition. They're just not.
Would you say
And that's
that would you say that their innovation took a dive?
Xbox hasn't been innovative in since Xbox 360. I mean,
Interesting. Yeah.
look at the systems that they put out, and look at what PlayStation does. PlayStation looks at their systems and they go, "Hey, we're going to come out with a detachable hard drive for our system, and that's going to give people options because you don't have to get a hard drive." Meanwhile, it's good to have a hard drive for games, but the problem is if you're going to raise prices on a system, there needs to be like somewhere there needs to be uh, people saying, hey, I got a system here, but I can't play any games because of the fact that there are no games to play. Because if you go to Walmart and you see like a section looking like this for Xbox, and then the
Mm.
PlayStation's like this because they put out games, they have VR. PlayStation has VR too. That's innovative. Where's Xbox's headset to compete? You know what I mean? It's like and it's not like copying, but if they come up with something new that they can add to it, which would be great. You know what I'm saying? It
Right.
just Xbox hasn't been they're not innovative. Xbox 360 had the dashboard, which I thought was great back in the day, where they had your avatar, right? That was pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool. You can create your
Yeah.
avatar and that
True.
kind of
True.
stuff. They got rid of that, and now you look at like all these advertisements, like old commercials. If I want to look at commercials, what I'll do is I'll put on like Amazon Prime because you know where that they headed. Now they got commercials now, so you watch a 30-second clip, and it's like I don't even want to play a game now. I, I just watched the commercial. Like it's like I'm kind of tired now. The innovation, they
Right. I
took
mean,
all the best things from 360, what made the 360 great, and they killed it. They killed it.
so
And
interesting. I don't know where. where they thought they were going as far as the innovative point. I mean, even as far as the avatar you were mentioning, that was a great point. That alone was a moneymaker because people would just buy something for their avatar for no reason, just to look
Buy a
good.
shirt, buy a hat, buy
Yeah,
glasses, buy
now
pants,
that's
all that
gone.
stuff. Yep.
Wow. You know what? I have the Switch. I don't have the Switch 2. I'm not ready for that just yet, for that kind of commitment. But they have a game such as, let's say, Nintendo has Super Smash Brothers, right?
Yeah.
That game is still being played
Hmm.
on the Switch, not the Switch 2. That game is such a moneymaker. It's such a
Yep.
powerhouse because they gave the fans what they want.
Right.
Xbox failed to do
Yes.
that. What is
Yep.
something that Xbox could have done to give the fans what they wanted as far as one game? Well, what's one game that could have turned the tide, in your opinion?
Honestly, if they would have stuck with Halo and listened to the fans of what made Halo great and innovative, and they just left it alone and let the developers make the game and not put implement, oh well, I want you guys to put maps in there and all this other stuff, and then just make it like what it's not to be. It's not Call of Duty. Don't make it into Call of Duty. Make it what Halo was. Bring it back to what the Xbox 360 was. You know what I'm saying? Because Xbox 360 made Halo. Because remember when Halo 3 came out, ODST, and there was all these commercials for these games. Have you ever seen an Xbox commercial without Game Pass in it? Play
Huh,
day one Game Pass, day one Game Pass, day
interesting.
one Game
Yeah,
Pass.
good
I don't
point.
want Game Pass. I want to buy my games, but I also want the full game. I don't want to buy a game and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you want extra maps, you want like extra skins for your character, you want weapons and all this other stuff. It's like, what happened back in the 360 days? Like, don't change, don't fix what's not broken. That one
Point.
particular game made the system, especially on the OG Xbox. Halo
Sure.
was like the number one game for that system.
Yeah.
They lost their way. They just lost it.
I think our final point, maybe the biggest point, you sort of mentioned it, and we've kind of been touching upon it this whole time. Do you remember? I'm sure you do, but I remember when they stopped calling it the Xbox. Do you remember what they
Mhm.
started calling it? It was Microsoft Gaming. And when they started calling it Microsoft Gaming, like
Yes.
that was the way they were sort of mentioning it to fans.
Right.
I thought that doesn't feel right. It
No.
doesn't feel like something that I like, let's get Microsoft Gaming. It's the Xbox. And now they don't say Microsoft Gaming anymore. Now they went back
No.
to Xbox because they knew Xbox was bold. It was brazen. It was in your face. It was very edgy. And the first
Yeah.
Xbox was like you're in the system. The entire the entire infrastructure of Xbox for the gamer, it was so accessible and you were
Yeah.
in it and you can play music to it. They gave everything that the fans would have hoped for in this cool, new, edgy, very innovative at the time, even though the
Yes.
controller was kind of big. They fixed that, right?
The
They did a
dude.
lot of things for the fans.
Right.
So here's my last point. You had mentioned, and I really wanted this to be the big question. You had mentioned that Windows itself is a bad platform to run games
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I don't
It's
really play like that. What do you have to say about that?
so the operating system itself it's too clunky. I just don't like the operating system at all. And it's really weird that Windows 10 plays the games better than Windows 10. Because
Okay,
Windows
what
11,
did you say? Windows what?
Windows Windows 10.
Windows
So
10.
Windows 10 before Windows 11.
Okay,
Windows 11 is the latest Windows.
right.
The problem with Windows 11 is they just said, here's Windows 10 with the number change on it. We'll just throw it out there. We'll slap a new number on it, and here's our new Windows. The problem is they're fixing it now, But Windows 11 has been out for what? How long now? And now they're thinking about fixing it because they see that, uh-oh, people going to PC. We want to fix Windows 11. So if we put games out, people will buy our games on PC. So we'll be good. There's just too many issues when you go to run a game of Windows 11 compared to Windows 10.
Hmm.
I think because they put a lot of time, effort, money, ideas, everything that they threw everything into Windows 10. They didn't do it for Windows 11 because they do not care. And they stopped caring for 15 years now. And I'll give you a better example than the Windows, not to go on a side tangent, but I'm going to have to make my point. When Xbox One came out, the very first thing that they said is if you don't have internet, you there's an Xbox 360 for you. Remember Don Matrick? Remember when he said that on an E3?
No, no,
Okay,
that's a
so
promise.
before Phil Spencer, there was
Mm-hmm.
Don Metric. Okay, he came out and he had said, "Hey, if you don't like to be on internet to have our system make sure that it's running the games in the background and make sure you own the game, it's DRM basically is what he was hinting at. Um, if you don't want to get an Xbox One, we have an Xbox 360 for you. Meaning, don't bother with Xbox One, stick with your 360. That's it's a problem. They
Mm.
lost their identity from Xbox One up until now. I don't care if you change letters in big bold, you still lost your identity. You lost all those fan base. You lost your fan base. But the Windows 10 is a lot better than Windows 11 in so many ways because when you run a game, I'll give an example real quick. If you go on Steam, you go on the store page of that specific game, you go all the way down to system requirements. It says minimum recommended. A lot of times, what you're going to see more than none is Windows 10.
Hmm.
Because if you have Windows 11, you need to have like that next gen PC. You have to have a 5090 RTX, all this other stuff. If you have Windows 10 and you got like a 4060, 4070, you could run the games. But if you don't have that $5,000 PC, good luck. Good luck running those games because Windows 11 is factored into next gen. Windows 10 is still on the PS4, Xbox One days. And they
Hmm.
haven't converted those people from Windows 10 over to Windows 11 yet because the fact is that Windows 11 cannot run those banger games because you need a very expensive computer to play. It's
Well,
Microsoft, they're just
I
horrible.
was just going to ask you that. So you would agree that at this point, Microsoft is essentially at a crossroads. And do you think they can recover from this?
If they listen to their fan base, they put out games and they stop shoving Game Pass down everyone's throats and they put out games, and they actually get their identity back and they go back to what Xbox 360 was and they don't have to change anything. Bring back the avatars, get rid of all the clunkiness on their storefront. Um, and I hope that they don't put advertisements within games that they were thinking about doing.
Oh God, that would
Um,
be horrific.
you
That would be a
put
horrific idea.
let's just say this. Instead of looking at a loading screen, a commercial will come up.
Oh God,
But within that commercial, you could play the commercial. Like let's say NBA, there's an NBA Finals game. NBA 2K will come up commercial. You'll play like a 30-second game for NBA 2K.
I
You know
see.
what I mean? It'd be something
Yeah.
like that to advertise another game within a game. But Microsoft will be getting that revenue because if you buy that game, they know what commercials and that kind of stuff, advertisements that they bought into to implement into these games. So they're already making money. I don't know if they're going to do that, but that's one of the ideas what they were thinking about doing with AI.
I mean, that would be the worst case scenario for them because that would just push everyone away, even the last fans they have. Because as I
Yeah.
told you, I was always an Xbox guy because I
Yeah.
guess I got comfortable with it. I loved the 360 even though it had the red ring problem. They were able to fix it, right? And then I
Right.
got the Xbox One. And like you said, it's like, okay, it's okay. It was really about the games for me. As long as the games are good. Well, now you have an Xbox that doesn't have games that are very good. You have the Game Pass where I remember kids, I grew up at a time and so did Frank, um, where you bought a game, it was the entire game. You played the entire game. There were some glitches, but they were able to patch it out, right?
Hmm. Right.
And then you can get a DLC that adds to the game. You didn't have to have all these in-game purchases. That's what it's all about. I remember that years ago. That was the new trend. It was all about online games and
Hmm.
in-store, in-game purchases. Get the new
Right.
loot box. It's all garbage. It's all a scam. And now that most people are sort of running away from that now, fans have made it clear they want one-player games. They want to sit in front of the screen. They want to escape. They want to have a nice time. They want to be a different person. They don't want to play as some normal Joe Schmo either. That's another thing that they were doing. They're pushing, oh, these characters look like you. Well, I look like me already. I want to play someone who I could never look like, ever.
Right.
I want to be a total fantasy. I want to get out of here. Give me an attractive game with an attractive premise. Get
Right.
that awesome music again, like real composers that would make, it would immerse you into the game.
Right.
And then, of course, from a first-person game, you then play the multiplayer game with friends online, and that's
Yeah.
how we had it. You had the first-player game you play as your guilty pleasure, as your escape, and then you play with your friends. Your
Yep.
friends might come over, your friends might play online. And I think the reason that we sort of wanted to do this for you guys is from a layman's perspective. I'm especially the layman here to understand a little bit more, why don't I want the Xbox anymore? And why am I hearing only negativity about it? I haven't heard in years. Are you an Xbox guy? No one would ever dare. Years ago, it was, are you Xbox or PlayStation? And you had one or the other. And sometimes you had that kid that had both, and you were like, oh my God, all right, that's cool. Um, I didn't always have both. But
Right.
progressively, a lot more families did have both because they were just so good. They had
Yeah.
exclusive games. Now
Right.
you wouldn't dare admit you only have an Xbox. That's where we are. You could say I only have a Switch, and people would say, cool. I only have a
Right.
PlayStation. Cool. I only have
Right.
Steam. Cool. Had you
Right.
said now you only have an Xbox, you might need medical care. You might
Right. They're like,
need
who
a
hates
mental,
you?
you're insane. So, Frank, I want to thank you
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
clearing so much up, not just to me, but for other people who might not understand what's going on. And there's a lot of game journals out there. A lot of them don't tell it like it is. So it's good to
Yeah.
see someone like you, Frank, who's very down to earth and is close up to this and can give us
Yeah.
some insight. Uh, so thank you very much, Frank, for coming on, and I can't
Yeah.
wait to talk more about stuff about gaming and how it mixes with history and storytelling. This was kind of a very unique video because I really did need your insight. So I want to thank you
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely. Yeah, no problem. And again, I don't want to go on a tangent too. I wanted to try to keep it short and sweet, but I could have went into more details, but we'd have been here all day.
Very true, and I'm sure if anything shocking happens, maybe we'll do another video and I'll be able to get your take on it. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you so much, man. All right,
Yeah, no
guys.
problem.
Well,
Got
I hope you learned a little something. And if you already knew all this, let me know in the comments if what you heard sound right to you. And if you know anything else, let us know. I'd love to know more about what's going on in this crazy world now of gaming. But everyone, thanks for spending some time with us. And I hope you see us next time on our top 10. Bye, everybody.